Hello everyone, it's Marcy, and I'm here to start a new folio. I've had several people request to see how I make all the little flips and flaps that I put into my folio, and so I'm going to do a start to finish on building the actual folio. I may not, and probably will not, do a start to finish on all the little inserts that I put in, all the little ephemera pieces, but I will at least do the entire construction of the folio itself. So first I have to say, and I'm not sure that I've said this before, the idea for this was inspired by Nick the Booksmith's Lapbook series that she did, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I guess. And I love that idea. My problem with the lapbooks is they become very thick, heavy, bulky, and so I just tried to pare it down using file folders, but doing kind of the same idea. So I'm going to be using file folders. You can use scrapbook paper, cardstock. I just prefer the file folders. Dollar Tree file folders work great. Walmart has file folders that work great. So that's what I'm going to use here. And to start with, I've got two file folders. So I'm just going to jump right in. These videos may be a little longer than my normal videos, but I may speed up some parts, may cut out some where I can, where I'm inking edges, stuff like that, to try to keep them from becoming too long. Okay, so my file folder is folded, and I'm going to leave it folded. I'm going to cut it to 6 inches wide. So I've got the spine of the file folder lined up on my 6-inch mark, and I'm just going to chop it down. And I'm going to do the same thing with my other one. Now the measurements I'm using here are just a guideline. Of course, once you've made one of these, you can learn to use whatever size suits you best. And I've made them a little smaller. In fact, many of mine have been a little bit smaller. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it lengthwise, and I'm going to cut it at 9 inches. So my overall finished folio journal will be 6 inches wide by 9 inches tall, so a pretty standard journal size. And we're going to give it a 1-inch spine. Okay, oh, I'm not done with that yet. I'm going to hang on to all of my cutoffs. Some of them I'm going to, let's pick the two thinnest pieces, save the bigger ones. Okay, so now what I want is, I want two 1-inch slices. I don't know if that one is. Ooh, that would be just wide enough. I'm going to actually put that away and pull out my regular trimmer. It'll be easier to get that really thin piece in. Get that lined up. Alright, so now I can put that piece aside and save it for use later. And so out of that one piece, all I've got left is that. Now I'm going to cut these down to 9 inches as well. Just cut both of those at the same time. And these two pieces will become my center spine. All right. So before I do anything else, I'm going to pull out my glue, and I'm going to glue these two pieces together. These will be my center spine, and I just want it to be a little bit thicker, just to have, even though I'll be covering them with fabric, just to give them a little added protection. So again, if you'd rather use scrapbook paper, just take a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper and fold it in half to make it 6 inches. And then you would want to score it about 1/4 of an inch, or what I'm going to use here is the first score line on this file folder. You can probably barely see it, but I'm just going to fold it right along there. And on these file folders, it is 3/8 of an inch. So, if you, like I said, if you were using scrapbook paper, you could just score it at 6 inches, and then the top folding page score 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch to the other side. So that will go like that. That will go like that. Then I'm going to take the other one and also fold it on that first scored line. Get a good crease on that. And then that will go like that. And by having those inside pieces just a hair shade shorter, then they don't get bound up, they don't get folded when you close your journal, so on and so forth. And then when it comes together, you'll have something like that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead, and I'm not going to have you watch this, but I want to go ahead. Actually, that's not true. I'm jumping ahead. All right. Flip them over this way. So I'm going to take a pencil and try to if I can, maybe that won't work. I'm going to try to lightly color my score lines so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Now, for this folio, I don't have all my pages printed yet, but I will be using, Dear Julie Julie has just come out with a bunch of daisy kits. And so this folio, even though I'm doing something of a tutorial about how I build these, this will also be my July design team project for Dear Julie Julie. And I'm going to be using bits and pieces from her daisy kits. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. So now hopefully you can see my score lines a little better, and I've just marked it on the outside. So to give these two smaller spines a little more strength, what I use is white cloth medical tape. I'm not sure if Dollar Tree sells it. I actually got this at Walmart, and it works beautifully because it is fabric and just provides a little protection to those spines. So I'm gonna just put that right across those spines as evenly as I can. I'm not overly concerned about it. And where'd my scissors go? And I'm going to do the same thing on the inside. Oop. Now I'm not going to use this on my middle spine, my bigger spine, because I will actually be using fabric for the center spine. But get this done. And then what I'm going to do is I want to ink up my fabric tape and the edges of my entire thing before I start decorating. You don't have to do that. That is strictly a personal preference. I just like to give any of the edges of my file folder that may show, I like to give it a little bit of color. All right, so we will clean up the edges. There. And there. There. And there. All right. Now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to re-burnish my folds on these little spines because I want them to move well. So get that tape burnish down. And be sure we retain our little spine there, our little 3/8 inch spine. All right. Gotta remember how it goes. All right. So I know we still don't have our middle spine glued in yet, or attached yet, but we will. But before I do that, like I said, I'm going to go through and I'm going to ink up all my edges. In this project, I'm going to be using some wild honey, some vintage photo, and a little bit of twisted citron. Of course, I want the vintage photo for a little bit of aging. And then those two, I thought, you know, daisies, how they have the yellow center with a little bit of green in them. So that's what I'll be playing with. And I'm going to pause the video so you don't have to watch me ink all of this. Okay, I got my file folders all inked around, and I know they look like a hot mess right now, but they won't when it's all put together. So the next thing I want to do is put my spine on, and I'm just using muslin, and I've cut it to about 2 inches wide. And I'm going to try to get everything lined up. Use my ruler to help me be sure. And then I'm going to move this side out ever so slightly. Not doing a very good job of this. Just to give me a little bit of a gap so we've got room for stuff to move. And I'll use that glue bottle to hold that side down. Pull that one out a hair shade. And no, I'll be using that glue bottle. We'll use my tiny attacher to hold that side down. Okay. So what I like to do, because I moved it again. Because I only have 2 hands, what I like to do is, and I'm using Fabri-Tac, is get glue on it, but not worry so much about the edges, because I can go back and take care of the outside edges once they are actually tacked, once my spine is actually tacked together. So I need something. There we go. All right. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to lay my fabric down, and I'm going to let it overhang the top and the bottom. And I will just cut those off after I've got everything good and down and it has settled and stopped moving. Okay. Now I can go back and glue these edges a little more. And this is just, I mean, everybody has their own way of making their spines. This is just what works for me. And this is not critical to having your spine protected or strengthened. Will be critical to the folio, but how you do it is not in any way, shape, or form. All right. So now I'll flip it over. And once I've got the one side done, the second side I don't have to be quite as cautious with. And I'm not really worried about any glue that may seep out a little bit because these will be covered with paper. So again, I'm not being super cautious about. Oop, don't drag it through the glue. And I want the top and the bottom one to be kind of even. Even if they're both off center a little bit, again, it's going to be the edges are going to be covered, so I'm not worried about that. All I'm trying to do is give my spine a little extra strength, and okay. And fabric seems to be the best way to do that. So now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to use my bone folder, but you can use a pin cap, anything you want, just to get down into those little gaps and create your little creases so that your folio will open and close freely. All right. Now, all right, so I've got that done. My spine feels sturdy enough. So I'm going to grab my fabric scissors, and now I can take off the excess. All right. Now, so now here's the front. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is partially so you can see and explain. But this is my front outside cover, so FO. This is my front inside cover, just meaning when you open the whole thing up, this will be the cover facing you. This will be my back inside cover, and this will be my back outside cover. This will be my, well, I'm just going to mark all of these as inside, 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 and inside. Okay. So we're going to flip it over so that we're facing, we've got everything unfolded and we've got everything facing out. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use scrapbook paper, but you can use digitals. The scrapbook paper I'm using, I want very neutral backgrounds on this time. So I'm using Our Family Tree from the Paper Studio. It's not a super thick, it's a pretty lightweight paper, and I don't need anything super thick. But I like the neutrality of it. It's got a little bit of floral on it. Says flower on it, just kind of a collage page. So, what I'm going to do is, and it will take 2 sheets, is I'm going to cover these 4 panels. I'm not going to cover, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the camera. I'm not going to cover any of these that I have marked as inside yet. So what I like to do, because I do want a little bit of my file folder showing, is I like to leave an 1/8 of an inch edge all the way around. So I cut my paper to 1/4 inch smaller than my file folder. So the front and back covers are 6 inches wide. So I'm going to cut my page to 5 3/4 by, it's 9 inches tall, so 8 3/4. Did I do that? No, I did that way wrong. Did I do that at 7 3/4? Oh no, I did. All right, well, all right, let me pick, because I don't, do I have another sheet of that? I don't think I do. No. Okay, so I got to switch gears real quick. This is what happens when you're not paying attention. And I bet some of you were screaming at me. So, I really like that, though. Maybe I can use it for some of the inside. Alright, we'll go with this instead. Still very neutral, but just not what I was wanting to use. Okay. So, let's try that again. 5 3/4. Did I have the width right? Yes. Okay, I had the width right. So 5 3/4. 5 3/4. All right. Now watch me. 8 3/4, not 7 3/4, 8 3/4. You know, that is not the first time that I've done. Okay, that is 8 3/4. Okay, that is not the first time I've done that. All right, that's better. So then that and the other one, I'm going to cut to, we know we need 8 3/4 tall again, but these little inside panels are 5 5.5, so I'm going to go to 5 1/4. So 5 1/4 and 5 1/4. All right. And 8 3/4, not 7 3/4, 8 3/4. All right. And that will leave me an 1/8 of an inch around all sides. So these are just going to be background papers on the, basically when you unfold the whole thing, you want to be able to see your front and back covers and then the 2 panels that they will be folded in, and they don't all have to be matching paper, not necessary, just use whatever you want. I want to, I think, switch those. Yeah, I like that a little better. Okay. Use whatever you want, but then those can go ahead and be inked up and glued down. And then in our next video, we'll move on to the next step. But when we come back, I will have inked up and glued these down. So until next time, see, that's my little timer telling me this video's gone long enough. Until next time, you can work on that, and please be safe, stay healthy, happy crafting, and I will see you in part 2. Bye-bye.